This is our 2005 Nissan 350Z that we slapped a turbo on. And it was absolutely great until...
Uh-oh. Oh no! Hear that? Yeah. Lowcar, bro.
We blew it up. But the question is, how did it blow up? Was it because of the turbo? Was it because of the install? Was it because of Nolan? Today we're gonna get to the bottom of what killed Lowcar so it doesn't happen to you. Let's go.
Thanks to Omaze for sponsoring today's video. My name's Jeremiah Burton, and giving you the chance to win this car is my business. I'm out here at the Peterson Museum in LA to give y'all the exciting news that the good folks over at Omaze are giving you the chance to win this Super Performance Mark IIIR. With taxes and shipping included for US winners. Just go to omaze.com/donut22 to enter for your chance to win. This iconic American roadster is modeled after the iconic Shelby Cobra, designed by the legend Carroll Shelby himself. You ever heard of him? It's got a 7.3 liter Ford Godzilla V8 engine, a 5-speed manual, and slithers down the road with a striking 650 horsepower. Not to mention, if you win this, you get to pick whatever rootin' tootin' beautiful color you want. And to top off this happy sandwich, donations benefit the Peterson Automotive Museum. That's where I'm at right now, a nonprofit that preserves automotive history and its impact on the world. They work with underserved communities, boast educational programs, and lead preservation activities, and your donation will help them continue to build automotive history. So head on over to omaze.com/donut22 today to enter for your chance to win. Good luck. All right, now who do I have to talk to get my Catfish Camaro in here? Huh? Anybody around? You, ma'am, with the blazer. Nope. Nope, you're not. Nope.
If you watch our channel, you know that we took a stock Nissan 350Z and put a bunch of cheap parts on it, most notably this Rev 9 Turbonetics turbo kit. And to be honest, we didn't exactly do the most professional job installing it.
A nice little trip down memory lane. We used these zip ties so the intake would clear the radiator. Powerade bottle as a catch can. This is how we do it. We really up this car.
So our plan of attack to diagnose Lowcar's engine is this. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna crank up the engine and take a listen and look to see if that will help us in the right direction where our problem is. Next, we're gonna do a compression test and see which cylinders might be causing that problem. Then we're gonna use some actual science and send the engine oil off to a lab for analysis. And then finally, I'm gonna fully tear apart this engine and see what broke and why. And to have a little fun, in this envelope, I wrote down what I think happened, and we'll see if I'm right at the end of this. If you wanna play along, leave a comment down below if you think you know what happened. Don't skip ahead to the video and then come back and comment. I'll know.
Before we even touch the engine on Lowcar, we have the luxury of being able to start it. Nolan's in there, he's gonna crank it up, we're gonna listen to the engine, and we're gonna see what kind of smoke is pumping out the back. Nolan, crank her up.
There's already some smoke coming out the hood. It smells, yeah.
Now, one thing you can do to diagnose a potential problem is looking at the color of the exhaust smoke. So right now, this is bluish gray, which is a good indicator that we're burning oil. If it was black, it would mean we'd be running too rich, so maybe some sort of air-fuel ratio problem or a clogged injector or a clogged air filter. If it was whiter and smokier, it's a good indicator that it's coolant, so you look for a head gasket leak or something like that. But because this is blue and gray, we know that we're burning oil. Also, it sounds like total dog which is a very good indicator that one of the cylinders is probably down. So, don't put your finger in there, dude.
It's gonna go. It's seized up. Look at it.
Yeah, I know, but what if it went unseized real quick? The last thing we need is Aaron to lose a finger. It's getting worse as it goes, and the engine it sounds like it's about to die. So we're gonna pull it into the shop, and we're gonna do a compression test and find out which cylinder is giving us the problem.
There's like oil on the bottom of it.
Is there a nice residue?
Yeah.
That's like an anti-rust kind of coating. Keeps the carbon from rusting.
So compression test is a way to check out how much pressure is being created inside the cylinders as the piston moves up and down. So what we can do is test the compression of each cylinder on Lowcar and determine if any of them are low or have no compression. After we know the bad cylinder or cylinders, we can take it apart and assess the damage on those particular areas.
Well, that's great. There is a ton of oil on this plug. Either the rings are bad or cylinder's bad, but that much oil on a plug is Not good. Got a little cardboard piece that Jimmy gave me, the heart and soul of donut, so I could write down each cylinder. Okay, ready, Nolan? All right, hold up.
That was weird. That was a weird noise.
We're getting 0 PSI on this cylinder.
Oh, I think that's our problem.
Let's check the next cylinder. All right, we're about 145. 160. We have our first non-oily plug. Everyone clap it up. 150.
Where we at?
150. Woo! The final one, Nolan. Almost 150, 148. All right, so the right bank of cylinders is pretty good.
Yeah.
We're at 150, 148, 150. When we move over to the left side, 160, pretty good. 145, pretty good. Then 0, which is a pretty big problem.
Big old goose egg.
You know you have a problem when you pull the plug and there's chunks of metal and a lot of oil in it. So once we get this engine pulled, we'll break it down, and that will be the cylinder that we focus on, because likely that's where the problem is.
All right, so obviously this thing is broken, but got some really cool stuff in the works to make it unbroken. Maybe not with this engine. So make sure you like and subscribe to this video to see that when it comes out.
So cylinder 1 during the compression test gave us a reading of 0 PSI, pretty good indicator of where our problem is. And there are a couple of ways a cylinder can go from 150 PSI to 0 PSI. So while Nolan and Aaron pulled motor apart, we can talk about them. In order to keep compression in a cylinder, you have to keep a seal between a bunch of parts. And if any of those parts fail, you lose your seal, and with it, your compression. So let's talk about some of these parts that could fail. You got holes or cracks in the pistons, the valves don't seal and leak, the head gasket could blow, damage to the cylinder wall, a bad timing belt or chain in our case, or mistiming in general. Also, the rings on the piston could fail. So already there are 7 things that could be wrong solely based on our compression tests. But in our case, we can rule some of them out. For example, a blown head gasket on a VQ will drop compression on multiple cylinders, so we know it's not that. Now, a bad timing chain or belt would also imply other cylinders have bad compression. And again, we only got one problem child here. Which brings me to my next point. We don't just have low compression, we have no compression. So I would guess that we have some sort of piston damage and or ring failure. And when you get those failures, you typically also get cylinder damage, all of which can lead to 0 compression. And I can confirm that without even taking a single bolt off this engine. Well, actually just 1 bolt. We're gonna drain the oil. So just by looking at your engine oil is a good way to figure out what could be going wrong with your engine. The purpose of your engine oil is not only lubricate your engine, but also clean it. For the combustion process, that's really dirty. Just like soot residue being left over after a bonfire, there are byproducts from burning gasoline, and the detergents in engine oil remove those byproducts. Now this right here is new oil, and you can see that it's amber in color. This is old oil, and it's black in color as a result of the hydrocarbons in the engine. Now this milky looking oil is a result of a head gasket leak, meaning coolant mixed with the oil. Color is one thing, but we also give it a whiff. You can smell the oil. Does it smell like gas? Does it smell burnt? Either of these can lead us down the path to figuring out the health of our engine. But my unsophisticated human eyes and nose are only so accurate. So we're gonna need some highly specialized scientific equipment to help me out. Now, there are a few companies out there that can take a used oil sample and, using a method called spectroscopy, determine what's going on inside your engine without you having to do a full teardown. It's like sending your blood or pee-pee to the lab for tests. So I went ahead and sent samples of Lowcar's oil out to a lab, and here are the results. Now the main one we want to focus on are our wear metals, particularly aluminum, iron, and lead. Now aluminum, we have 50 parts per million, which is well over the average of 32 parts per million from all other hundreds of samples sent into Blackstone Laboratories. The next one is iron, which is higher, just a tad bit at 37 parts per million. And then lead, which is 29 parts per million compared to 16. Lead indicates we have a bearing failure. So based on this report, I think it's fair to say we have some piston ring damage and some cylinder scoring. But I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging with just a guess. Let's tear this engine down and see what really went wrong. Now, so far, nothing we've talked about has anything to do with a turbo. So let's talk about what a turbo even does and why it could in theory, cause damage to an engine like this. Now, obviously the end goal is to get more horsepower, but there are some drawbacks to it. But a byproduct of a turbo is heat. Now, because exhaust gases are hot, this sucker gets really, really hot, like 1,000+ degrees Fahrenheit hot. And when you take something that hot and you put it in an engine bay, it's radiating a ton of heat that the engineers who built this car didn't account for. Now, there are ways to manage that heat, like a turbo blanket or heat shielding, but Low Team, they didn't do that. Guess where this hot turbo was placed? Right next to cylinder 1, the one with no compression. Very interesting, Nolan. Also, to make matters worse, the oil being supplied to this turbo to lubricate the shaft is the same oil used to lubricate the engine. So that means the oil is getting hotter, which means it does a worse job at lubricating the internals. Add the fact that this engine had over 100,000 miles on it to begin with, and it wasn't intended to withstand the added heat and power of a turbo, it's no surprise that something failed. I'm not saying it's impossible to turbo a car like this, but Low Team definitely took some shortcuts, and time crunch played a big role in why heat management was skipped over. Here's Nolan talking about all the things he did wrong.
Just opened up the exhaust box and our exhaust doesn't fit. We have missing hardware, the don't fit right.
We're kind of on a time constraint, so we'll see what we come up with.
Maybe we didn't request the right part, whatever. Anyway,
Our pan is steel. We're definitely not going to be drilling any holes in the block of our VQ, so we're going to have to figure something else out.
I don't know if their car's gonna run, ever. You getting on?
no.
Freaking Nolan. I knew it was Nolan. I knew it. And so now that I have this engine torn down pretty good, I'm gonna do the final step, and that is pull the heads off so we can see what went wrong with Lowcar's engine. All right, here we go. The moment of truth. We've pulled off the right side head. Looks perfect. Doesn't even look like it's got 50 miles on it. This is the trouble head. This right here, this cylinder, is the one we had 0 PSI. So we're gonna pull this head off and see what the damage is. Oh, look at the old pancaked piston. Now we'll check my envelope so I'm not lying. But what I said at the start of this was that we had a failed piston, failed rings. And that looks like a failed piston and some failed rings. So what causes something like that to happen? Well, too much heat. You can see that it literally mushroomed the piston over, so it kind of folded over on itself, almost looks like lava flow. You can't feel it, but I can feel it. The inside of this cylinder wall where that piston is destroyed is just totally etched up. Got a real bad groove in it. Because of that, we had no compression in this cylinder. See cylinder 3, super healthy, piston looks great. Cylinder 5 also looks good. So those 3 had good compression, these 2 had good compression. This one right here, totally effed. So for a piston to melt like this, it's gotta get hot, much, much hotter than the normal combustion temperatures. And about one of the only things I can think of that could cause this would be an extremely lean condition. And when I say lean, I mean the air-fuel mixture has a higher concentration of air to fuel. A lean air-fuel mixture can cause detonation, which is combustion inside the cylinder after the spark plug fires. And you can actually hear it, it's called knock. That knocking sound is the piston smacking around inside the cylinder. That causes more heat to build up. When you have more heat, you have more detonation, and in no time quick, things can get super hot and pistons can melt. Not only that, if you have a ring failure, oil can get past those rings, and when you burn oil and gas, you lower your octane level, which creates more detonation, which creates more heat. You have a snake eating its own tail. But what caused the lean condition? Well, there are 2 things to think of. You either have a faulty injector or an improper tune. Now, I know for a fact that Low Team didn't spend a whole lot of time getting their engine properly tuned. Every time that Lowcar was tuned, it was in a rush to get the car on the road and to the track. Also, it's really not the tuner's fault for this car, it's our fault. When you tune a car, it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience to get it right. And patience and time were things we didn't have. Also remember, this is a turbo car. The turbo is adding a bunch more air. And if you don't match the fuel requirements for that increase in air, you get a lean air fuel mixture and then you get detonation. And it just so happens cylinder 1 was a cylinder that broke first. Whether it was because it was right by the turbo and there was a lot of excess heat there, or this engine just had 100,000 miles on it and maybe that piston already had some previous damage and we didn't know about it. Who knows? No one will know. But I do know one thing. Nolan broke this car and it was Nolan's fault. So that's the answer.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like. Ride with me if you ride feel like 550 on the 5 stick, that's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Thank you guys so much for watching. We got high-low coming in. This engine is dead, but it doesn't matter because we got 2 other engines going in high and low car. Stick around for that series. It's gonna be absolutely great. Check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye for now.
Hold on, check this out. Nope. Let me get this right, Phil. Oh. Oh, really? Oh. Coming at you, Phil.